I was just, I'll just share this. There's a couple of things to share that we've already talked about, but I've got the recording on now. And one was the fact that whenever I went to KL, I used to have my throat used to seize up. And I'd say to Tanya, I don't think I could do any work. I've lost my voice. And it used to happen every time I went there. Now, I decided after a while that this was me picking up something about the energies of KL and the people of Malaysia. And I sort of, in meditation, I realized it was actually, there were two things. One was something within me, myself. It was still an issue about standing up and speaking publicly and sharing my beliefs and my teachings. And the other thing that the problem was the women, particularly the women of Malaysia, I guess the men as well, very, very shy to actually share what they feel. And I had the same issues in Japan. So I think what I then did was I did some healing for the whole of all of the Malaysians, and that could be very powerful. And it's something, it's really, really good to do in a group. So if you've got any like-minded people together, and you know that there's an issue that affects a lot of people in your country, you do the healing through the people in the group. So it's like a bit, they're like surrogates. So you lead it, you bring in the energy of clearing and healing those imprints that a lot of people have got. It's like, I've done it with for Jewish people where it's guilt. They carry a lot of guilt. So just doing a lot of karmic clearing for them, and doing a lot of group clearing for whatever you feel is something that is an issue. And it really did help, and I could feel it working. I've done it in South Africa a lot, where there's a lot of history of problems there that people have picked up on, a lot of the fears that people carry there. And then when you could do it with your meditation group, Woody. You know, you bring in the energies, you use the healing symbol. When you do a group healing, you do this thing, this is what the symbol thing you do, and then you bring in the energies. I've got quite a few things like this that I teach in a sort of masterclass, which I'll put out available for everybody when most of you have finished the first modules. But this one's really good. You just do this. That's your symbol. It's like the eternity symbol, and then you bring in the energies. And you just bring it, and you ask everybody in the group just to open their hearts, bring that energy in, and then add their love and their intention, and then send it out. You know, as I'm doing it now, I can feel how strong that is. And it's great because you're affecting so many people. It works because of the intention that you have, and it works because of the intention of the symbol and the symbology of it. So I did that, and that started to help the throat situation, because it's true that people in Malaysia generally are becoming more aware of being able to have self-expression. Then it's difficult to measure those things, but Azida's a magic with her pendulum, Woody, and so one of the things you can do with that sort of healing, and I've done it in Ireland to shift the energies in the country there because of all the history they've had. And so what we did in Ireland, we used the pendulum to record the level, and 1 to 10 of how much fear or whatever it was, I can't remember what we were thinking about at the time, we wanted to check, or just the frequency of the energy. And we did this, doing 1 to 10. You know, you can use a chart. You'll come to that soon in the workshops. Azida's an absolute master of it. She's really taken to the she's amazing. And with a chart, you can see, and then you do the healing, and then you do the pendulum again. It's magical. It's absolutely
It's,
magical.
Oh,
it's
wow.
just amazing because it speaks to you, and I could do lots of stuff with the pendulum.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, when you
yeah.
started, you couldn't, could you? I
I
mean,
couldn't. It was like one or two tries of thinking, oh, okay, it's not gonna work.
but
And only like after a few days, it's sort of then I think it's sort of that there is a connection.
Mm.
yes, yeah.
Then
Well,
after that it speaks, right? Yeah.
yeah. It's like your own fear and distrust of it goes,
Yeah.
and then it goes
Yes.
straight to your higher self. So it's the higher self. So you always make sure you do your higher self connection first, so that you're fully open from your higher self, ground yourself, and then the pendulum. Well, you use it to do diagnostics, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I do. Yeah, just to confirm certain things, or sometimes when I'm not sure, um, I just do that. Then sometimes it's just very intuitive.
Mm.
Sometimes I just say that, oh, okay, why don't you ask the pendulum and see what it is?
Good for confirming too.
Yeah.
It's a bit like kinesiology. It's another way of testing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It sounds, it's
Yeah.
like dowsing,
Yes,
right?
it's that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yes,
it's
yeah.
dancing. Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I knew a lady who came to my courses years and years ago. And she really took to the pendulum like Azida. It was something that really clicked for her. She ended up being able to have a full language with the pendulum. So she would get the pendulum would go round, it would go off to one way, go off another way, and all of those things meant something. So it had a really she could have a real dialogue with the pendulum, using the pendulum.
Mm.
But you can get charts which have A to Z and do it that way, just checking it out that way. But always keep it to your own higher self. You don't want to start going outside of that, because if you start going outside, you're likely going into the whole Ouija board type of thing. You could get something coming in. So
Yeah,
you always
yeah.
protect yourself when you use the pendulum, and only ask your higher self what is your belief and truth on it.
'Cause I think I realized that it's very good uh, for us, or for me, to confirm certain things within the spiritual teachings.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Because so you cannot go beyond that and ask sort of nonsense questions, because it doesn't it doesn't do anything. It doesn't
No.
react. Um, and when I used it on the heart sphere chart that you did, it was like magic, because it sort of connect, and I could just mention a name, and then and just to say, okay, what's wrong with this person, and it shows.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
In fact, I'm doing a whole workshop on heart spheres for the Japanese, and I'm going to introduce the pendulum into that from what you said. It's an excellent. What the heart spheres are, just to give you a quick update, Woody, because I know you haven't got to that yet. It's that in your heart center, there's more than one chamber of the heart. In
Yeah.
fact, there's what I call spheres, which that's what they told me they were called. They're like chambers, and there's one for virtually every aspect of our lives. So you've got heart spheres relating to a heart sphere for your parents, for children, for your partner, for work, for your connection to God or the universe, whichever you like to use, and all the way around. So there's, I don't know, 15 that I find that are regularly in action, and you can tell from the what you're doing is checking each one to see whether they're open or closed or damaged, and that will
Yeah.
show you where the root cause can be of a person's problem.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
And you use the pendulum as well for
Yes,
that?
I use the pendulum as well. You've got to sort of tune the pendulum to your energy, so it
Mm.
speaks to you, and then after that, it's quite smooth. So it can even tell you whether that person whether the healing has worked for that person, because I did it for myself. So after
Yeah.
the healing session, and then what's the result after that? So whether is it still, do I need to do more, or is it still closed, or is it open, or which one? So you can do that as well.
You know,
Yeah.
pendulum work is really, really powerful. I know people who do all their house clearing, depossession of people, all that stuff, using the pendulum. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And this is the charts we're talking about here. This is
Yeah.
each sphere relates to a different aspect of the life. So you can then identify where the imprints are that are blocking and causing the problem. Some are pretty obvious. Obviously, if someone says I had a bad childhood, you know that there's going to be an issue with parents. But there's a lot there, and it also will indicate through using the pendulum, as Azita said, whether you've actually achieved what you want to achieve. It's the same as when you do for chakras. We do it on chakras to check whether a chakra's open or closed. So it's the same type of situation. Now the thing is with this is the more of these that are damaged or closed, the more impact on your sense of self, which is like the inner core of your heart, your sense of self, your ego. And if I had one woman, I said, right, just look at these and just tell me which of these are closed or damaged for you. She looked at them, she said, all of them. All of them. She said, and she had zero self-worth.
Zero.
We had a lot to go
Oh,
on
that's
there.
sad.
Yeah. And then in the center is your connection, which is your true self. This is your connection to your higher self. So this is like the core of your heart. And then you connect from the core of your heart through to your higher self. So it explains why you get people with big issues. You've got situations here. The Cray brothers. We have I always use the Cray brothers as an example. The Cray brothers were two really evil gangsters in England around the 60s and 70s. And they would chop people up, throw them into concrete, but their works without they're really complete psycho, what path? One of the paths, and they're all evil, but they love their mother. They do anything for their mother. So the one of these circles that heart was okay was the one to their mother. It's their only redeeming thing about them. But it's the fact that people can be working really well in one aspect, but then it crashes in another. So yeah, the pendulum's really good, and you've had a lot of experience with that, haven't you, Zena?
Yeah, and I did that. I couldn't. Yeah, I couldn't do the past life regression because I was alone.
Yeah.
But because then I had some sort of a intuition of what happened, and I had a vision of it. So I used the pendulum to just ask questions and confirm, and through that I got a whole story of what exactly happened. Yeah.
Yes, you did. You found out where your big problem came from, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. It was such a big relief, actually.
Yeah, the big thing about all of this is once you know what your issue, where it comes from, it's like 90% of it gets healed straight away.
Yeah, and then suddenly, like, it's just like magic. Everything else changed. And even that very day, good things, there were like lots of positive phone calls, and even your dynamics with other people changed as well. It's just amazing, really. I think once you change yourself, automatically it changes how other people look at you and perceive you. Yeah.
Brilliant. That's really it is like magic. It really is like magic, I have to say. I think Woody's got issues with his family going on. He's got children there that he's got.
Sorry, I'm a bit distracted.
It's okay.
I'm still here.
No, that's fine, my darling. That sounds fine. So he's got two small babies that
Oh, okay.
at the time. Wood is a healer. He's a healer too. So when you get out of lockdown, do you think you're going to do healing yourself at all? Do you think, or you want to maybe prefer to do the distance healing?
I've I could do, and I think I f- I feel that I can and I would want, but I just don't, I haven't figured out as to what exactly how will it be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I
and
should
then
let it grow organically, let it happen. I mean, that's how it was for me.
yeah,
Uh, just that the word gets around and people start to find you, and then it comes. And I don't think for healing you should ever have to put a huge effort in. I've never advertised healing apart from putting it on
yeah,
my website.
yeah, yeah,
And in that way, I think you get the right people come towards you, and you will find that you get bunches of people with the same problems. So you do get quite a good experience coming through from meeting people. It's an interesting challenge. It's an interesting challenge. I had a yeah. I was going to say I've got a little sort of situation that came up with that I had a client. I thought I'd just share this.
okay,
This client came. She was totally. How can I put it? Her whole body was struggling. Um, her tongue was so swollen she couldn't move it. I mean, literally, she couldn't move it. All her organs were swollen. Um, I'm just going back to her first one. She had something called moral activation syndrome. She's allergic to virtually every food, and she gets excruciating pain in her body. She's allergic to stress. So as soon as she starts getting stressed, her whole body goes into pain, and it's a burning pain. It feels like it's the body feels like it's under attack. She had fibromyalgia, which was brain fog. She was tired all the time. And the woman was in a really, really bad way. Before she became ill, she was a runner, but she couldn't even trot across the room now. And then most of this started before 2015. So this had this for a few years. It's really, really. I'm just explaining about this client with real huge problems: fibromyalgia, allergies, pain. Body was in a complete mess. She couldn't even move her tongue properly. She couldn't twist her tongue or do anything like that. Which is a small thing, but it's a big thing as well because it's an indicator that everything was swollen. And we started talking, and her background was all about abuse, basically. She had 5 marriages that have failed. She had her mother, when she was young, her stepfathers. She had several abusive stepfathers. So the being in abusive relationships came down through her mother as well. So I wanted to find out why she'd had these problems, and I went to see, well, there's got to be something right deep down, this horrendous life she'd had. Now she's met a nice man and she's got children, but the children have all got issues like autism, things like that. So really, I mean, the woman's really taken on a huge amount, but she's got this lovely energy about her that wants to help people. I mean, that's what she wants to do. So immediately you've got somebody who's going to be responsive to the healing, because you do get
yes,
people who say, I've got a problem, fix it. And you've got people who come with an open heart to say, what can you do to help me? So what I do when I'm working with people online, I've always got paper and I'm writing down what they say. And as I write down what they say, some things sort of come through me as strong, and I put, right, that needs to be cleared. So like I put, clear the childhood imprints, karma, go through the layers of karma. I found shame in there, lots of shame. And this is a lot to do with the body putting on, she put loads of weight on. Clear through the lineage. Her father was from Mauritius, in French Mauritius. A grandfather abused the grandmother. The grandfather abused the mother. A lot of stuff coming down through that Mauritius stream. Now, I know Mauritius is a country where there's a lot of black magic performed. So that immediately rings a bell for me. So what I got, as I'm doing it, I'm just connecting to the energies all the time. That's how I do it, connecting to the energy. As she's talking, and the curse comes in, so I put curse and I put a circle around it, and I don't deal with it there and then, but then when we get towards the point where she's told me all she can manage on that day, we're having a few sessions, I went in and I saw the curse, and it was to do with the two fishing families, and the one family upset another, and there was a big dispute, and there was curse was put on, and it was 3 generations back. So we cleared the curse, and I felt a huge amount of energy shifting. So she was able then, it was almost like the curse was like the shackles on her that would stop her from healing. Because she'd been doing work for herself, but she hadn't managed to she could only get so far by doing work on herself. That's why she came to me. So then I did a lot of clearing of karma for her as well, and clearing the imprints of her childhood and the abuse. Anyway, then I always called in the spirit of the body, because the spirit of the body takes all the traumas that we go through and holds on to it, and very often that's where illnesses come in. And I've got a lady that's just come to me today. She's coming out in fatty lumps all over her body. So I know that, I looked it up, and it's a self-image situation. So we're going to, when we have a session, we haven't got it yet, we're going to have a session, I will be focusing on how people treated her when she was younger. And all of this is now coming out in her body when she's like in her 40s. We store it for a long time before it pops out. So this woman that I was talking about with all these illnesses, when I was seeing the curse, I saw a ring of fire, and the way they put the curse on, they had this fire, and then they threw the things into the center of the fire that they wanted her to suffer from. So it wasn't in the fire, it was like a ring of fire. And I don't know if this is a thing they do, but that's how I saw they did it. So I cleared that, and then the rain came in, and as I was clearing it, I saw rain putting out the fire. It's a really interesting sort of little scenario that I picked up there. Anyway, after clearing that and clearing as much as I could in the imprints in her body, so filling her with love and telling the body, the spirit of the body, that it can now release a lot of this pain. It doesn't need to hold on to it anymore. It's safe to let it go, because she isn't in her, she's come out of her fight and flight phase, and she's in motherhood, and she's able to release now. So she came to me for a second session a couple of days ago, and she said her tongue's not swollen anymore. Her whole body feels lighter. She said amazing response to the healing. But we're now focusing on the layers of karma and cutting the cord to everybody who abused her. So we did that in the session, and then I gave her homework to go away, and in her homework to do the writing, and she has to get all of this toxic energy, which is exactly what all this fat is, or all this pain in her body. It's the toxic energies of the abuse, the traumas she's gone through. So my best bet for clearing those at the moment is writing and burning. They write it, everything out, that everything that they can remember, and every bit of anger and every reaction to the abuse. And I said to her, I just had this vision of you taking this abuse and not ever reacting to it. She said, I never did. She said, my stepfather's, one particular stepfather, would punch her and she'd just take it. Because she didn't want to cause a problem in the house, she didn't want to cause a problem to her mother. And all the way through, all the abuse she's ever had, she's just taken it. Didn't know what else to do. So it's all in there. It's a classic case of a person who's had abuse and it's starting to come out in her body. And it started to come out in her body when she got married to a really nice guy. And the children started to come along. And she says there was a day when there was too much and she was overwhelmed. And I think it starts to bubble out then. The body can't hold on to it any longer. So it starts coming out in symptoms of illness. So we'll be interested to see how she goes from here. But when I was working with her, I could feel masses of stuff leaving her. And now she said she felt like she wanted to vomit some of the time. But that's a good sign. Yeah. So I thought I'd share that one with you because it's a real using all the things that I've shown you. I've just bought a book. No, I haven't bought a book. It's been sent to me. I haven't got it here at the moment. It's something about a tiger, the tiger. I'll let you all know what the book's like when I've read it. But it's about a guy who's specialized in dealing with trauma, an American psychologist who's been working with trauma cases, and he's had a great success with his way of doing things. So I'm reading that to see if I can get more tools that we can use when we come across people with deep trauma. It's not everybody releases as well as this lady. And one of the side effects of people holding on to deep trauma and karma, and that's guilt, sense of guilt, is that they get attacked psychically. And I get a lot of those sort of clients because of books I've written and things I've done in the past. And they're not always easy to clear, where they get possessed or where they get affected by the negative energies. But I am more and more coming up with the fact that this is really all tied into karma. Some people you can just shift them straight away and it's fine because they just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, or there's some message for them. But some of them, they don't know why they're being constantly attacked. And one of my clients the other day, she couldn't go into her top bedroom. She always felt bad, and I got my friend William to clear it. It was still there, and then we had a healing session which was all about her self-worth. And I felt a shift come because I took her in some meditation to see who she really was. And she said, miraculously, she can now go into the bedroom. So a lot of the psychic attack stuff is actually, it's almost like the door's been left open by the client because they feel in some way that they deserve to be attacked, or they don't have enough self-esteem to shut the door on it. I mean, if either of you got attacked by some nasty dark entity, you do what my husband does is he's had the attack and he just tells us, F off. Turns the television on loud, shouts to go away. It's very effective. There's no way is he tolerating it. There's me bringing in Archangel Michael and doing symbols and everything, and everybody just goes, and it seems to work extremely well. But the people who can't stand up for themselves in that way are the ones that get bullied. They literally are getting bullied from the dark side.
Just a question. How do you deal with people who becomes needy, like every single thing coming back to you, every little thing?
Oh, yeah.
I find I've been experiencing that, and somehow the energy is so like, oh, you just don't want to. It's starting
Yeah.
to affect me actually. How do you do that?
Well, you have to put your own protection around you and have to keep saying to yourself, are you happy to work with this person? I mean, I've come very close to the edge on a couple of my clients and I'm saying, that's it. And I think
Okay.
I sense it because I'm saying, right, we're going to try this one last thing.
Okay.
And
Mm.
and they sense it and they say, oh, don't give up on me. I said, well, no, but there is only so much we can do. And then I'm going to give you some homework to do. And because you get a bit bossy, because otherwise, yeah, it's all about you fixing them. It's the old, my arm hurts and you've got to fix it. Whereas you do want some engagement themselves. And I very rarely let a client go without giving them some homework to do, because that means they've got to go and do something. And then that encourages their own self-fulfillment too. But yeah, I would, well, there's two things you can do there. One is cutting the cords, cutting attachments. You get them to see what they're attached to, what behavior patterns, what thought patterns they're attached to, and suggest they cut the cord to them.
Okay.
So
Mm.
cutting cords is good because people are attached to all sorts of things, and a lot of it be mindsets, attitudes, sense of vulnerability. Ask them from a spiritual healing perspective, you need to do a lot of work on the solar plexus, which is where their strength and will and determination sits. So I focus right in on that one first of all and start to clear that chakra and make sure every time I see them that chakra is really truly clear.
Okay.
That's just some thoughts about it anyway. Have you got
I have a
any,
client like that.
yeah, probably
Um,
one we've got the same one.
I think we have, and I think we both know. Yes, I find it so draining because I have become this person, this sort of fix it, and it's putting the emphasis on me to fix rather than fix
Absolutely.
myself.
I just send love to her and send, sending you love and strength. And then I
Yeah.
just cut the cord. But she'll send messages. This is a joint client. Well, she's not really a client. She doesn't pay us anything. She sort of latched onto us.
Yeah.
And she plays
Okay.
the 4B card all the time. And I'm an old lady, and her writing's getting worse and worse, and her spelling's getting atrocious. So I think she's losing it a bit. But I just feel I'm only going to send her love and strength. Even in the middle of the night, she'll send me a message. And I don't respond to that anymore. I made one mistake once. I answered sort of at 1 o'clock in the morning. I was awake and opened it, and I saw she just sent me a message, and I responded, and it was a big mistake because she now thinks I'm available for her 24/7.
Oh no.
So I now I don't respond. I wait till a reasonable time of the day, and then I'll send her a message saying, "I'm sending you strength. This is your decision." Pushing it back to her.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, I mean, she softens us up by saying, "Oh, you're the most wonderful person in the world. You and Woody, how can I live without you?" And she plays the old cards really well. So I think the best thing we can do for her is to cut the cords to her ourselves. That cut the cord, because it doesn't stop the love from us flowing towards her. But what's happened? She's got hooked onto us. So we need to cut the cord to her. Really, it's a good point. We should do that. I'll do it right now. Cut the cords to you know who. Right now, right now, right now. 42.
Yeah.
Go with light, go with love. Oh, that feels better. Yeah, because she's all over us.
Yeah, it is quite exhausting.
It will be.
Yeah.
Because she's not putting anything into it herself. It's complete victimhood. She's a good case. If you're writing your book, Woody, that's the one that goes in under the victim.
Yeah.
Good example.
Something else I wanted to share with you, actually, was I had a client a few weeks ago, and I don't normally get, when I'm treating people, I don't normally get visions, but this particular guy, I had a very had two very powerful visions. One of which was a dark-haired lady floating in a pale blue dress, and the other one, when I got to his heart chakra, was an owl, and this owl was sitting on a fence post or a branch or something, and then it took flight, and I could describe this owl. It was like an Arctic owl. It was white with some black specks on it. Anyway, I shared it with him after I'd completed the treatment, and he broke down, and I was really surprised because he's a very sort of matter-of-fact type of person.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, my mother died, and her favorite animal was an owl."
Oh,
And,
oh,
yeah, and it really, yeah, it was exactly that reaction.
how
and
lovely.
Oh.
the night she died, there was an owl screeching in his garden at the exact time that she passed.
Wow.
He was having a sculpture made of an owl. He literally that day.
Brilliant. What a lovely confirmation for you too. I love
Yeah,
those
it's quite
things because
extraordinary.
it really reinforces your faith in what you see. It's not
Mm.
always easy, you know, you get lots of visions, but it's really lovely. Often when I get visions of past lives,
Sorry, I've got someone.
I get
Sorry.
I'll suddenly see a past life thing, and then I'll share it with them, and they'll say, "Oh, that's because," and they give you a very good, clear reason why you've seen that, and it just resonates to them, and they have a fear of something or a particular liking for something that you've seen, and they usually get that all makes sense to me when I share these things, and I think
Yeah.
it's good. I mean, when I first started healing, I didn't share anything I saw because I was scared they'd say, "Oh, a load of rubbish," and then that would really set me back. But once I started to do it a few times, it really helped me believe in the spirit, the visions, and everything. And after all, what we're doing is we're down to earth people living normal human lives, doing some extraordinary things and connecting to extraordinary things that are extraordinary because they're not of the everyday, and they're in a different realm to where we're living. So it takes a bit of courage to do it, and it's also we'll need a bit of confirmation to keep us strong with what we do. So that's why the pendulum is very good and kinesiology is very good because it helps to reinforce our it's a good confirmation for us.
Yeah.
I don't think you ever stop wanting that confirmation. I don't. I've been doing it 25 years and I still like the confirmations. You know,
Mm.
it's a real sort of yippee.
Yeah, I think that's really important for me, is to have that confirmation as well, because day-to-day life, as we know, just sort of it gets in the way and it dilutes things at times.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
belief that
Yeah.
we have.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Yeah, and getting good results from our healing. I mean, you do that, don't you? Anyway, what's your most popular therapy that you use, Woody? Because you've up to now.
Well, probably the Reiki.
Mm.
Reiki is the most popular, but I think it's I find with clients, it's, as I'm sure you both do as well, it's about building the relationship and building trust.
Yeah.
And because I do a number of different things, a lot of hands-on stuff, and then of course I have my my PT work as well. You find different times where you can introduce alternative ideas and perspectives. And I think one of the things that I find particularly rewarding is where you perhaps have, sorry, my dog is getting very excited about a ball. Where you have, perhaps people with a slightly binary state of mind, and they gradually become more open.
Yeah, well, you can do that with your PT work, can't you?
In particular, yeah.
Yeah, it's quite good to have something out there that draws in people from a different mindset that you can help develop. It's really good.
Yeah.
I've always been down the mega spooky route, and I've tried to go out to a wide audience, but I find it hard to get away from the fact that at the end of the day I'm a spiritual healer, and that's what I do. In fact, I had a client the other day, and she's a regular client, and I and I that because we see each other so often, I said to her, I was taking her down the path of a more how can I put it, psychoanalyst type path,
Yeah.
explaining why this might be happening and why that might be happening. She tried this and that, and she just said, "Well, look, you're my spiritual healer. Won't you do your spiritual healing on me?" And I'm thinking, yeah, she's right. That's what she's paying me for doing. And here I'm going down this analysis route, and I'm thinking, see, that's what people want, and that was good for me in a way, because I'm thinking that's what I do best, and that's what I should stick to. I mean, it's good to give people down to earth things they can do as well. But at the end of the day, the real gift I'm bringing for them is the energies that I bring in, and the energies that the symbols bring in. And I think, Woody, when you get going with this work that I'm showing you in the course, because Woody hasn't really got down the line very far because he's had a few hiccups in the challenges, as the word is at least
Yeah.
as good as, that when you start to use the symbols with the Reiki, you'll suddenly find that with the way you work already, I think you'll find it's going to be really magical.
I'm really excited about doing it, and I'm just
yeah, I know. Well, we talked about it for a long time.
I know, and it's not I don't want to allow myself to get frustrated having not done it. It's just as circumstances with children.
Timing, it's all timing.
It's timing, yeah. It's the way
By
it
the
is.
way, I'm on the Kevin Moore show. If you've got an hour spare and you haven't completely fed up with hearing my voice, on the Kevin Moore show, he does interviews. He's in America. He's an English guy. Trina introduced me to him, and
Really?
he interviewed me, and he's going to do another one. But I wanted to promote the course and what I'm doing as well. But it's always good to do these interviews. Yeah. So Kevin Moore, Moore, and he's on YouTube. So you just have to check him out. And if you could share that around a bit, I'd really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
He's a lovely guy, and it was a great opportunity to do it. And I've already had some new clients come through and some people joining one thing or another. So that's good. Yeah. Interesting. Anyway, is there anything else you want to bring up or anything you ask me? I'm here you can ask me anything.
I think for me, I need to. Today is quite a good point to commence the work that I need to do, and then I think next time we get together, I'll have more questions.
Okay,
It's been a really good reminder for me today, actually, that
giving him a little push, as he
just fun.
Yeah.
But something I will say, which I think is that I've become very aware that people from all different areas are starting to wanting to arrive at the same point, and I do see that with my work.
Yeah.
I have one particular client who's worked in finance and oil and gas, and he's made a huge amount of money, and but I see such insecurity in him. He constantly needs that reassurance from me that that he's a nice guy, or that what he's doing is good. And just now I'm starting to see a shift in him. He's a bit more aware and a bit and sort of open to things, and it's really great to see that, and many other people that I'm seeing for different reasons as well.
It reminds me of a client I had in the Mandarin Hotel in Hong Kong, and I was a bit dubious about doing the work for the Mandarin because it's such a expensive place, and what they were charging out was so high, and I thought, well, I don't know whether this is really me, but I did it because I was offered the opportunity, so I said yes. And there were two clients that stuck very much in my mind from that time. One was a Chinese lady that came in, and she was really oh, full of her stuff that she'd had in her past, and we did a great healing session and everything. But then I asked her what did she do for her work, because her story didn't sound like she was at all had any money there. She's a cleaning lady. She's a cleaning lady in Hong Kong, and it's a bit rude of me, really. I just said, but I mean, how could you afford this? You know, it's a lot of money to come to see me here. She said, no, it's what I wanted to spend my money on.
Wow.
Whoa, that really whack message. See, I can still remember that one sentence all this time later. This was talking about 20 years ago, and that made me realize that people let the other people decide the value to them that it is to them. Not for us to judge whether we should be doing this free or we should be doing this. We put our price out there. If somebody can't afford it, they'll always ask if there's a discount or a compensation. And I've always got my PA Brenda to act as an intermediary for that. But that was the one. And the other one was a businessman, and it reminded me of that, who was having a big problem with his family and his ex-wife and his child, and he was in a tormented state. And I was really tormented. And as I went in, it was his heart. I could just feel his heart. His heart was all closed up and battered from his divorce and being separated from his son. And so I just worked entirely on clearing his heart. And at the end of it, he just said, I just feel like a different man. And he wrote to me afterwards, and he said, after the session, I went and I wrote to my ex, and I've arranged now that I'm seeing my son once a week. And he said, I just feel like my life's just completely turned around. And that's the businessman. Yeah, don't forget that. It's all about the heart.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? How sort of businessmen, metaphorically, will sort of batter their way through walls to achieve what they want. But actually, sometimes it just takes seeing in the periphery as well to really enhance their life in other ways.
Yeah.
Beyond just, financial achievement.
Of course, Azita is an entrepreneur. So we've got a business lady right here. Do you think that's true, Azita, that we tend to close down our hearts when we're driven? Like my husband's completely driven with his business. He's softened out a lot since he's stopped working.
I think when you're very focused on work and just making money, I think a lot of people have that because they feel that they cannot have any emotions when you make the deal or when you make a sale or a transaction. But actually that's not true. It has to be done right, and I think in a spiritual sense the money has to come in a nice way as well. So that the benefit is multiplies. Otherwise, it'll be just a one-off thing, and at the end of the day, you're not going to be happy with it. The money doesn't last. So that a lot of people don't understand this philosophy. You can make billions and billions of dollars, but it will just disappear. Someone asks you for help, or you lose investment on this, on that, and then everything else is gone because it was not done properly and people were not happy, or there's something wrong with it. So you have to be your heart has to be open as well when you do the business, and be happy to receive the money, and whatever has been sold or purchased, everyone gets is done fairly, equitably.
Yeah.
So that is the.
I'm gonna quote you on that when I do my finance workshop for the Japanese.
Mm.
work, yeah, in
So yeah. So it's not. I mean, you can rob the bank. I mean, example, you can rob the bank and get a couple million. But where does that take you? Basically nowhere. You have to hide. You have to do all sorts of things, and at the end of the day, you lose the money. You can't spend it. What's the point? So
Yeah.
it has to be earned in a right way. I mean,
yes,
what is right? We don't know. But I mean, spiritually right.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you feel good about it. You feel good about it because it's well earned, and no one, goes off saying, "Oh, we shouldn't have done this with that person, and we were not, we didn't get what we want, and or she cheated us, and this is a scam, whatever." So
mm.
it
I
can't
think
be like that. It can't be like that at all. Yeah,
it's a very karmic thing, isn't it? And I think they're
yeah,
absolutely right, because there's a lot of people saying, I can't make money and I can't hold on to money or this and that. And money is an important part to people's lives, and it can be a real upsetting for them if they can't make money. But that is a really good quote there. Thank you. Thank you.
welcome.
Yeah,
Good.
thank you. That was really-
So, well, on that,
And
I
I
think
can hear my children. I
we
need
have to go now. So,
Okay, but really lovely to
can I
meet
just
you.
ask
Nice
one
to
quick
meet you, Woody.
question? Is a Sunday
Yes.
or Saturday morning good for you? A Saturday morning, is that a good time for you?
Yeah, I think that could work for me.
Okay, well, I might go for Saturday morning in future. Just so it might be open to everybody then. Bless
Okay.
you. Thanks,
Thank
Woody.
you.
Thanks,
Lovely to see you.
Akita. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Bye.
Anne.
Bless you.
Okay.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.